6 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Quick roll call.
Grady Bonzel,
Here.
Dennis Sneeden,
Here.
Matt McKenzie,
Here.
Curtis Penrose,
Here.
Wally Hanson.
Here. Okay, any public comment? All right, we'll move on to the public hearing. Variance request for Zach and Jessica Lohr at 821 West 19th. So, at 6:01 for the minutes. I will officially open the public hearing.
Okay.
So, we want to start with Zach?
Sure.
Zach Lohr or our Zach?
One.
Why don't you go first? Give us the rundown real quick.
The proposed variance is for a lot that is smaller than 2 acres that is required by code for a campground. We've been dealing with it quite frequently, so it's pretty fresh on our brains. The lot in question is north of the old Buffalo Inn, the Roadway Inn, over by Shiraz, the college dorms, that area. There'll be 9 spots, which you can see on that picture there are outlined in red. And then you have your sewer and water line also, and the electrical that will all be underground as well. The lot's just over 1.7 of an acre, so nothing different than what we've already approved in the past.
Why don't you go to the previous aerial, Josh?
That's all that was on this document, so. What's the other document?
On the staff report, there's the property outlined in red. There it is. And you can see the hotel there in its familiar shape, and then just north of that is, and then the property actually faces 19th Street. So, go ahead, Zach. Sorry.
You scroll
How far?
up to that one right there, my comments. All right, we have 5 things that we have to go through for every variance. The first one's going to be uniqueness. The property sits in an area of town where mobile home parks are already located currently along 19th Street, and then also KOA is also along 19th Street just further down. The only thing is the lot's just a little bit too small. The adjacent property, the variance will not affect the property rights or adjacent property owners or residents. The property to the north is used for storage for the overflow from harvest or on the railroad property. The property to the east is being developed to have a shop for storage, and then the property to the south is a hotel that is being remodeled into apartments. To the west, there is a shop for Black Hills and also the shop for Lohr Electric, which is owned by the applicant. Down a little bit, please. The hardship, the requirement of a 2-acre lot as a minimum will not allow for the RV park on this lot, so that is why the request of the variance. Public interest, the requested variance will not adversely affect public health, safety, morals, order, convenience, or general welfare of the community. The proposed variance shall not impair an adequate supply of light, air to adjacent properties, substantially increase the congestion in the public streets, increase the danger of fire, endanger the public safety or substantially diminish or impair property values within the neighborhood. The spirit and intent, the requested variance will not be opposed to the general spirit and intent of the zoning regulations. And then the minimum variance, the requested variance is the minimum variance for the requested number of RV spots being requested, since it has been approved at that size for a different lot already.
Okay, anything else from staff?
It's also in the commercial zoning district, with the industrial zone across to the north. So it's in an area where this use has already been included in our use regulations. So it's really just the size is the only item that kind of gets tripped up by the current regulations.
Okay. Zach Lohr, can we have you come to the podium officially and give us your rundown of what you want to do?
Yeah, so, I mean, you can kind of see where we were planning on putting it, on the east side there of the lot, the 9 sites. It's kind of hard to see with it being a satellite image there, but those are the 9 sites actually laid out there, and that's the whole site. That's not like the camper size or anything. That's the actual size of the lot, of each site anyway. But they'd have full hookup, water, sewer, and electric, along with lighting, trash, as required. And that's, you know, we're on the back end of it, but we're still helping out. There's a lot of people that still want to move their campers kind of from other places to town. They want to be in town. There's some down south. There's some in Burlington. People kind of want to be over in Goodland. So we're just trying to help that out, and then hoping for a future, even maybe hoping with the whole, maybe the flour mill and stuff. We're still hoping with that we can get some more construction guys over there as well, and help that out. And they'd be close to it as well. So we're kind of just making this an opportunity for that. So, but yeah,
All the utilities hooked to city, correct?
correct.
Yeah,
All
okay.
utilities are- yep. So, yep. City water, city sewer, and then obviously electric as well. I will obviously do all the electrical work myself. So, but yeah, other than that, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I tried to lay it out as best I could on my drawing here. So.
Are you planning any surface improvements, or what are you gonna park on?
Yeah, it'd be crushed concrete.
Okay.
All of it would be crushed concrete where all the sites are. And then improving drainage too, to get the water, because drainage isn't the best on 19th. It kind of pools kind of towards the south end, so we're trying to kind of valley it between the sites and Dennis's shop where he's building, and kind of getting it pushed out to the street there to help with drainage. So.
Okay.
Yep.
Do you have any other questions for Zach?
So this is gonna be more of a permanent, not a temporary thing?
Yeah. This is more permanent.
Permanent, okay,
Long
okay.
term. And another thing, I think, hoping that people would enjoy, they'd be able to walk over to Shiraz to eat. You know, that was another kind of factor that option people would have. So trying to help that out as well. Yep.
It's the electrical, the size of the transformers and everything, that's worked out with
Yep.
Justin.
With Dustin, yep.
Okay.
Already got it figured out. He's got it. Figure out what he's gonna put up. I think they actually have the one they're gonna put up. So.
You plan on having like any bathroom facilities or in there too?
Nope.
Okay,
So we decided not to go bathroom facilities. That's why we kept it at 9
okay,
instead of going to 10. At this point,
Yeah.
it might be something for the future. But right now we're gonna keep it without bathroom and shower facilities.
Okay.
But we will have trash. As we have to, but yeah, we'll have trash and all that. So.
Maybe, hang on, let me ask Zach Hildebrand. So the site sizes are, or maybe you can tell me, what are your dimensions on your site sizes?
Yeah.
25 by 75.
25 by 75.
Okay.
And then there's actually, that's just the size of the actual lot. I mean, they're gonna have plenty of room to park in front of that. So, I mean, they're generous size
Yeah.
lots.
We've got it written in the code today on what the size has to be. That's come up in a couple other discussions, so we just wanna make sure we're staying within,
Right.
those parameters.
yeah, that's one of the questions I was gonna have, is cause reading the minutes last month, it seemed like they're a little small, and I was,
And I've
Yeah.
done,
saw what his dimensions were, yeah.
this is my 4th RV place I've done, 25 facilities.
Good.
That's what.
That's a good size,
Yep.
works good.
Gives them space between, because by the time you get slide outs on both sides on some of these campers, I mean,
Yeah,
they're wide.
yeah,
So they get to be 14
16,
14 feet,
yeah,
15, 16 feet wide.
yeah.
yeah.
Any other questions for Zach before we let him off the hook?
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any comments? Dennis, you came.
I just come to listen.
You're the neighbor, just wanna make sure you have an
Always be the
opportunity.
neighbor, yeah.
That's the one question I would ask is for 19th, because that's gravel road there, right?
Yes.
Is that be a problem with campers coming in and out or anything like that, or?
It's currently gravel. It might have to have some more gravel put on it. There's no plans to make it a concrete. I wish we'd have the funds to make 19 paved or concrete all the way from agri-liquid all the way down to
Right.
Zach Lore, but that's not in the current plans. But the street department, there's already, like he mentioned, the drainage issue. That gets to be an issue sometimes. So if there's gonna be more traffic, it will cause our street department to look at the grading of that a little closer and also it might require a little bit more gravel, don't know at this point. It's okay, some parts of the road right in front of that shop, but I'll have to take a look at it. As far as the amount of gravel.
Okay, with that, it's 6:12, so we'll close the public hearing. And the next step is we need to go through those 5 things that Zach outlined, and what we're looking for is agreement on those pieces. So Josh, can you scroll back to, or go back to the staff comments? And then scroll up.
Well, and those are the staff comments for it. They really need a comment, whether there's agreement, like you said, Matt, of the commission on each of those items.
So we'll just work down through the list. So uniqueness, I kind of agree with what Zach had outlined right there. I mean, outside of the space size, and it's not a big difference, 0.3 of an acre, is the only thing that keeps it out of meeting all the requirements already. So I think that one is met, but curious what you guys would say.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Agree?
I don't have any issue with that.
The lot is a parallelogram.
It's an odd size,
It's
Right.
or odd
So
shape.
that's what odd shape, so
Yeah.
that's what makes it a little bit smaller, so.
Okay, adjacent property, I think is probably in as good a spot as you could get there. Proximity to other mobile home parks, a lot of industrial and other commercial, you know, you're not disrupting a neighbor really all that much, so I think that one fits fine.
I agree.
I would agree, with the proximity to Shiraz too was nice for the guys.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a good location.
What's the distance to your property line with the roadway? As far as where the trailers will be located?
It's gonna be behind the setback. I'd have to see exactly what it is. Do you know what it is now? I don't know if we actually.
We never did measure.
I never did measure, but I made sure that where the first spot started, it was.
At least 50
It's got-
foot.
Yeah.
Somewhere in that range. I mean, it's not like right
I'm not
next to
gonna
the,
No.
You've got plenty of
There's
setback.
kind of a grass area there, and then the first one starts behind that, so I mean,
Okay.
it's a good distance off the
Okay.
edge.
Okay, so the next one was hardship, I think. Yeah, obviously, if we don't make the variance, it's not gonna work for him, and
Right.
3/10 of an acre is pretty small variance, so agreement there.
Yeah, I agree.
We agree.
I agree.
Okay, public interest, I don't see any issues with the public interest here. Again, the location I think is probably as ideal as anywhere for it, so. Agreement?
Yes.
Yes.
It's appropriately sized and I think it's good.
Okay, spirit and intent, I don't see any issues with the spirit and intent of the zoning regulations here.
Neither.
Me neither, yeah.
The zone use, I'm not opposed.
Okay, and then minimum variance, again, we've brought up this one several times, but we've approved things exactly the same. 0.3 is kind of what our minimum has been, and so it's in line with everything we've done so far.
Yeah. I agree.
Okay, anything else we need to do besides the motion?
no, sir.
I would entertain a motion on this variance request.
So I move to approve the variance for allowing the RV park to be developed on lot that is 1.7 acres as long as all other codes regarding the RV park would be met and followed.
I second
Okay, moved by Grady, seconded by Dennis. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
nay. Motion passes. There you go, Zach.
Thank you.
Get busy.
Where the snow comes.
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
But it could be next week.
Okay, we're gonna move on with the agenda. You guys are welcome to stay. If you are wanting to bail, that's fine too, but we're gonna continue on. So, the next one is a proposed ordinance, for a text amendment on RV parks, for conditional use in residential neighborhoods.
This has been sent to the planning commission, by the city commission, because they had an issue brought up by a property owner, regarding an RV park in a residential zone, not in a commercial zone, and that's one of the reasons why staff is pointing that out during the various variance requests, whether it's a condition, commercial zone or a residential zone. The text amendment would actually make changes to two different sections in the code. That's why there's two different ordinances in your packet. And we've done this a few times over the last couple of years, so it shouldn't be unfamiliar with y'all. First one is the pretty colored matrix that provides it. And down on, it's page 4 of that ordinance, but it's at the bottom of page 4, it says public, quasi-public, and recreation. And then within that, on page 5, which I think is where Josh is now, it says recreational vehicle park. And those columns represent different zones. And the first two zones, the gray and the red, problem is you have to scroll all the way back up to see that it's residential. Where the first 4 zones are. But R1 and R2 are listed, this is where the change would be made, is to have a C, conditional use, not a permitted use, which you see further on that it's permitted in C1, which is the green, and then it is, and then the pink one, which is, I need to have 2 of these up so I don't have to go back and forth. The downtown mixed use, yes. And then it is a conditional use in the 2 industrial zones. And then it has the letter T, which refers to further on within the use, or it is the T in the other ordinance, basically, the next section, the 19-502. And I just included the T in your packets because I didn't want to have 20 pages of those definitions for you to have to wade through and just have RV parks. And we actually have, Zach did a good job putting this together, because if you remember, a little over a year ago, or was it 2 years ago, we had the language trailer camp
Right.
for a part of the code, and then we had RV park and another part of code, and we wanted to get it all uniform.
Mhm.
So we changed it to this. There wasn't that much changed, I don't remember. Zach can correct me. It was just basically the naming of it, RV park. But you notice on here that there's 16 different sections within T, 16 subsections, which describes all the various parameters for building an RV park. The conditional use, back to the colored thing, colored matrix, would require then anybody who's a property owner wants to put this in at their property in a residential zone would have to go through a process and a public hearing in order for it to be approved. Conditional use is there's an application, and then it comes to the planning commission, and we set a public hearing, and it's heard at that time. And then you guys, it's basically just the planning commission. Isn't it correct, or I didn't read those again this morning? It's just approved here at the planning commission. It's not like the zoning, which then goes to the city commission and is approved. It's just the planning commission. So it does require a conditional use. The one thing in favor that helps it be favorable is that a conditional use requires an application and a public hearing, and the neighbors to be notified, and their objections, they have the opportunity to state their objection if they have one. Yeah. And it also allows the planning commission, not just staff, to review the application and see whether they've met these 16 criteria or different standards, and some of them are a little bit extensive. It isn't just one item, it's several things involved with that one item, involved to be considered and see whether they've met that. So a conditional use is a better procedure, and that's what staff sometimes worries about, is making sure there's good process. But I think the biggest thing to consider with this issue is it appropriate in a residential zone? Having an RV park, having a place, that type of business, which can be in and out by business, is that appropriate in a residential zone? And then also whether it's appropriate in both those residential zones. We don't have much R2, but is it even appropriate to consider an R2? And when it's multifamily or vice versa, is it okay in R1 in the single and two family dwelling district? And as we go through these criteria, some of them have come up, and I'm glad we've had all these variance requests, because you guys have had some experience, at real world examples about what comes up for even in a commercial zone. What are the issues that come up? What are going to be the issues for the neighboring properties? How does that fit in a residential zone, which is more compact, there's more neighbors, and there's an expectation of certain things. We're pretty loose, you know, it's wild, wild west, but we still expect our neighbors to behave a certain way. So as we go through these criteria, there should be some discussion about this. Is this the ordinance that we want to move forward with and set for public hearing? Does that kind of start us off with a good foundation?
I think so.
Yeah.
Does it bring up any questions from y'all?
So if it's conditional use in residential and we approve the conditional use, then does that subject them to everything in the use standard unless they apply for a variance?
Correct. Unless you want to add, you know, there's a couple of them that would be very difficult.
Minimum track size.
Track size. is
Minimum
gonna be a
track
big
size is
hurdle.
one.
Yeah.
You know, 2 acres,
Mhm.
there's not, some cities have quite a few lots that are 2 acres. Goodland, I can't think of, there's a couple on the outskirts.
Yeah, maybe.
But
Very, very, very few.
very, very few. So that's, you know, one lot size. And as we go through these 16, is there any others that you saw, you were reviewing this that would be difficult in a residential zone?
I think that's a big one. I think the 25-foot space is a big one. And then the cost to connect to city utilities is gonna be a big hurdle for residential.
Yeah.
Well, one thing that's been brought up is just because of other requests, and actually probably the biggest one that caused an issue is electric power.
Yeah.
And KOA had to put in some additional transformers and had to pay for their expansion on their north half of their area now. And they went to a lot of expense to make that happen. We've had another individual ask about a lot down on Highway 24 and was up to 30, 20 or 30. Started thinking big. But once you start thinking about the amount of power for that, 50 amps per site times 30, that's 1,500 amps. That's a good chunk. That is not going to be served by the current transformers that serve that area. So when you get into a residential situation, even adding, because a lot of, and I'll ask Zach this, and I asked him, do we have 200 amp panels, or Zach Lord probably answered two.
Do you have anything from 100 to 200, 150, and it just varies on where you're at in town and how upgraded the house has been?
But you start thinking, okay, if it's only 100 amp panels for that block, okay, the infrastructure that the city has to serve that block, then if you add, let's say 4 to 6 RV slots, that equals another 2 or 3 homes on that block. And will that cause an issue for providing power? Not saying that it would, but there's something to consider for the electric utility.
Yeah. And then I think it raises a whole bunch of questions around whose expense is that? You know, the city provides the infrastructure, but is it really the city's responsibility when that's not how it was originally designed?
Right.
Well, you're talking about electric, what about sewers or anything?
Yeah, sewer and
Are they planning on
water.
put sewer too, or?
Well, and there's been a study made, the sewer is probably not as much an issue because you end up most of the time putting a size pipe that it could handle additional flows. The water may be a more immediate concern. The sewer wouldn't show up, maybe not right away, but the water would, because just like we did the project here just recently on Walnut between Stever Park and north up to the high school, that line was a 2-inch, I couldn't believe it. It was only a 2-inch steel main serving the entire block in the 1,500 block of Walnut. And they just thought they had low water pressure all the time. It's like, well, you don't have,
No volume.
you don't have the main.
Huh.
And we replaced it with a 6-inch main, and then all of a sudden it's, you know, obviously much better. But there's a number of places that identified that around town, but it costs money.
Yeah.
And it was, I don't know, the study was done right before I got here, or the year before I got here. It was about $3 million worth of work for all the different places around town that should either be upsized or replace the water mains. So I could see, okay, we're gonna add so much more, you know, it's like adding 3, 4 more houses to that block. Is that gonna cause a situation? Don't know, but it could. And not saying that it would absolutely would, but I know, I also, my wife has a relative that lives on that block that was firsthand as far as what that was causing. So there are utility questions all along the line.
And with it being, an RV and not a permanent, we really don't know what it's gonna take, yes, power, water, sewer,
And the
whatever.
need will fluctuate.
Right, exactly, there's no consistency there. Right, I mean,
And the RVs would not use near as much water as a regular house, obviously, but there's still some water usage.
Still flush toilets, still take showers, just don't have 3 of them.
Well, I would say that I have more concerns now that we've been through some of these variance requests than I did before we started this. Some of the things that have come up in these discussions, like what happens if somebody pulls their plug not hooked to a sewer? And that's a bigger issue in a residential neighborhood than it's an issue anywhere,
Right.
but it's a real big issue in a
Yeah.
neighborhood.
alright,
And that can happen on purpose or not on purpose too.
Right.
I mean, we've had an RV before and it can happen.
Shit happens.
Yeah, so,
Good trip while traveling with it to somewhere else.
especially when you have curious little kids, so, you know, that's what I'm saying. I just think, I mean, there are a lot of things that have come up. That's one of them that's been on my mind since the last time we talked, is what happens if there's an accidental spill? And I'll just say accidental for right now, but that's a problem.
That could be, yeah.
And then I'm worried about space is the next thing, and the thing that brings that up is we've had an RV fire now. And what happens if we have an RV packed in a residential neighborhood that's, we're already got tight setbacks?
Mhm.
And that's another thing that, before this process started, I hadn't considered, and now I am considering it pretty seriously.
Yeah,
I would also like to say that buildings are constructed to withstand fire more so in a commercial district, not so
Yes.
much in a residential district.
yeah.
Well, and you have much more landscaping and vehicles, and, I mean, there's just,
fire to spread.
fire would move
Yeah.
faster in a residential area than it would in
Yeah.
commercial.
Well, and it goes back to that electric issue,
Mhm.
making sure that it's done correctly. Once it's installed, there is no inspection of it. So you've all seen how, in a house, it can get Jimmy rigged.
Yeah. Well, you could easily overload the system and no one would know.
With an RV, that can happen too.
And then the last concern that I have that has come up in all of this is we've approved a lot of variance requests for people to put in some serious infrastructure that they're gonna spend money on, and I'll include the KOA in that these commercial operators have made a financial investment that
Yeah.
not every citizen in town should have the right to take away from, maybe, or infringe on. So I have some hesitation there too,
Well, we want the commercial parks to succeed,
yes. That's where
because
this fits,
that's an amenity
yeah.
that allows people to come here and stay here.
Mhm.
Not just like the variance you had tonight, it's more looking towards long-term usage than short-term usage. But even with that, it's trying to meet a need. Whereas a commercial use in a residential area, it can be here and then gone tomorrow. KOA, with the investment they made, several $100,000, they're not going to
Yeah.
give that up easily.
Right. That's where my head's at. I'd like to hear what you guys are thinking.
Covers what I was thinking.
Yeah, I agree with you, Matt. I think, we need to keep it in a commercial environment or not a residential, because one, you have people coming and going, right? I mean, there's no consistency there as far as utility use. You could have abnormal traffic in a residential area with larger vehicles, you know, and so safety. So, yeah, I feel like it needs to be in a commercial, location, not a residential area, my personal opinion. No, one thing I will bring up, I know we talked about like ADUs and, stuff like that. Is that something that we can consider? that for, you know, for like, additional residents for people for short term or something like that.
I kind of brought that up last meeting too, is that we went through all this work to get the code so ADUs are easier to do. I would rather encourage people to look at an ADU, more permanent
Mm-hmm.
type of
Right.
residence in residential. I feel like that's a better use of our space and fits better in kind of the bigger city plan.
It's more solid, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I agree.
It's probably more expense for a homeowner, but.
Yeah, the cost.
I guess I was thinking in the sense of, you have the in-laws coming into town for Christmas, or you have a camper, you can hook it all up and all that.
Permit,
Okay.
and then I can extend that one time for an additional 30 days, but you can only have 60 days total within a year.
Okay.
So there is
Yeah, so you can work
opportunity to
out
do
that.
that, yeah.
Are there provisions for the hookups, the water, electric,
There's
That- in
nothing,
that temporary one?
no.
But if you had it set up to where you could hook it up and just make it,
Yeah,
like,
you can, if you're a homeowner today, you can have the hookups and then just go through
that's,
the 60-day permit, and then they gotta move on. I mean, that would fit within code today.
Is there any thought, yes, we have the ADUs, is there any thought to making it so that RV, if it was certain requirements with it, could fit those terms of an ADU and have an RV space,
yeah,
a concrete space on a lot?
The biggest difference would be permanent
They
foundation,
have the
right?
same foundation.
Mm-hmm.
The ADUs have to be on a permanent foundation.
Would that bring up other concerns for you, Zach, from a building?
No, when a natural disaster or something like that occurs, I also can give permission for however long of time. So if there is like an actual event that occurs, we can allow people to stay in their campers while they rebuild their homes.
So really what we're saying is RV parks don't fit in residential.
Yeah.
We've got commercial property, we've made a lot of accommodations to address the need we have right now on some commercial spaces. But we also have permanent RV parks here that need our support and are an attraction for our city. So.
And we don't feel like the RVs are lining up with the ADU concept.
Right.
The, one thing, Chair, I would like to go through all 16 of these just quickly,
Okay.
just to make sure there aren't any other items
Yes,
to,
that we're missing.
because it seems like the planning commission would like to return a communication to the city commission saying that you don't want to move forward with this for a public hearing and consider changes to the code at this point.
I think that's where we're leaning right now.
And if that's what you want to state to the city commission, I want to make sure that all the items are identified.
Yep.
That can be issues as they come up in these various things. And so on the site has T, and then number 1 is the site selected for RV park shall be well drained. That actually brings up another issue in residential areas. Is the lot well draining to begin with?
Right.
And is it gonna produce additional drainage that might affect the neighbors? By putting additional hard surface, just like the applicant said tonight, well, we're gonna put concrete crushings down. Well, that's gonna produce additional drainage.
Yeah.
Some of it will drain through, but Location of the site may not necessarily front on a major roadway, that's just true, but. Number 2 has the minimum track size, which you guys mentioned already. Number 3 has the maximum number allowed shall not be more than 20 per acre. We really haven't had too much of that come up. Designed accordingly, densities may be higher than the destination type, since it's a short stopping point. Number 4 is all yard areas or other open spaces not otherwise paved or shall be sodded and or landscaped. That could become an issue on some of our vacant lots in town that are not currently landscaped or sodded in any way, such a form, in a residential neighborhood. Number 5 is the minimum width, which is the 25 feet. And then no unit shall be placed closer than 30 feet to any of the development property lines. That's where it may get
That's really
tough
hard. That's really hard.
on certain residential lots. And the 10 feet nearest the property line shall be permanently maintained as a sodded and or landscaped area. The camping space must be no less than 500 square feet. I don't think that's an issue. Number 6 is identification of roadways and spaces. That kind of came up in the original discussion of the property owner who brought this to the city commission's attention, of having the emergency personnel be able to find where they need to go. That's not gonna be, is that appropriate in a residential area? It could be. Lighting. All RV park roadways shall be lighted from dusk to dawn in a proper and sufficient manner. That really hasn't come up, but that could be an issue in residential. Service buildings, that's if there's 10 or more vehicles. And then there have all sorts of criteria. I don't think that's gonna be an issue in the conditional use request. Water supply. They need to have water supply to the RV space, not that you haul it from a frost-free hydrant across the line. And individual service connections. Sewage disposal, which has come up in a couple different variance requests. Individual sewer connections be designed and then be designed for RV parks. Number 11 is garbage and refuse. Number 12, rodents and insects, which that goes back to the trash issue. And the trash might become an issue if you have 4 and RVs and they're producing as much trash as a house. If, that's an if.
Right.
But I don't know if that happens in your alley as well. When there's one family that produces a lot of trash, it can,
Right.
Yeah.
then people start looking for different dumpsters.
Trickle down the
Well, and then how does that work for the business owner in the can? You know, how do they charge that individual? You know, if they have an RV, you know, is it part of this lot or, you know, is it separate or?
Well, that's a good point. If you're paying a trash service for your address and you add an RV spot or two, what, but your trash, you're still just paying for
You're just
trash at
paying
that
the same
address,
amount
but
for
your
trash.
volume went up.
Right.
That puts a
Well, it's-
burden on the trash collection
And
guys.
it's just one, it's like a solid waste thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
That you pay
Yeah,
you just pay one fee,
one fee.
and that, I'm sure that fee is based on the volume of trash that they haul.
Right.
And so that could be an issue.
The number 13 is electricity, and that's the 50 amp, and I think we've gone over that quite a bit. It also says no power line shall be permitted to lie on the ground. All electric wiring must be underground in RV parks. That's an expense.
Yeah.
That I don't know if RV park and residential, they'll want to go to that expense. Register. This really hasn't come up too much, but to register containing a record of all RV owners and tenants located within each RV park. Central office. If it's in excess of 5 acres, well, that's not gonna be in our conditional use, it's really not gonna come up. And the applicant shall, 16, provide a development plan. An actual plan of how they're gonna do this. And that's with the variance requests and also the ones, there's been additional items that Zach has gone through, the building official, as far as the development plan for the RV park, to make sure it meets those criteria. And part of that has come up with the folks just considering it. You start going through these criteria, oh, I thought it was gonna be easier than that. You know, then they'll start, do I really wanna do this? So, well, thank you, Chair, for allowing me to go through that.
Yeah, I was just counting up. I count 12 of the 16 that could be an issue. So that's significant, and I think that underscores the reason for a hesitation about wanting to move forward with this in residential area.
I don't have a motion for you, but I think it would be better to have a motion and a second to say, to return it to the city commission for further consideration, based on criteria that's come up in the variance request, and also that's part of the reason, and part of the reason why you don't think it fits. That you don't find, you have a real hesitation, you find it really difficult to add a conditional use in residential zones at this time without further, what would you call it? Further explanation or further study, of how it impacts in a residential neighborhood. Does that make sense, or I'm trying to be diplomatic, so.
Yeah, no.
Cause the city commission had it brought to them, and they definitely wanted it to at least be considered. But it seems like you guys have a hesitation to even set it for public hearing.
Yeah.
Because you have a hard time seeing where it can be successfully done. Or there's just too many concerns brought up.
All right, let me see if I can do this.
Yeah, I'm trying to think too.
Yeah.
So I move that you return, or I move that we return recommendation to city commission to reconsider conditional use permit of RV park in a residential area based on several factors that come out of variance requests, current variance requests, as well as a majority of the use standard issues that have arrived in this discussion, and that they further consider, how do I say that? And that they, I guess that our recommendation is that they
Give you further direction.
They give us further direction if they would like to move forward.
Okay. I think that's a good way to end it.
I'll second that motion.
All right, moved by Matt, seconded by Grady.
Well done, well done.
Yeah.
All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, nay? All right. Okay. Let me get back to the agenda. Okay, the next thing is reports. So moving down the line, Grady, anything to report?
I don't really have anything to report,
Just thanks, guys.
Yeah.
but I just have a suggestion or just a thought, or maybe you guys already thought about this. I don't know of any accidents that have occurred, but I've noticed on Cattle Trail, where we veer off from 27 and go on the Cattle Trail, there's not a yield sign or anything there. And with more traffic, with that bridge being out, I'm seeing that. But do we think that's something the city needs to put in? A yield sign somewhere there? Like I said, I don't know of any accidents that have occurred, but I can just see that
You
happening.
mean where it comes down, going from the north and then you turn down and.
Yeah, but where the people come from the south, they're coming off 27 and it's bending over and people are coming, there's no yield anywhere.
Either direction.
And
Okay.
there's a lot more traffic now with that bridge being out.
Temporary, but yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it is temporary, but I know I've had to stop a few times, just using common sense, but if you don't see it, if you don't have a sign, somebody's gonna say, well, I didn't see a sign, you know, so, I'm just bringing it up, whatever you guys, you know, whoever's in
No,
charge of
that's
that
a good
house.
idea.
Only thing I just wanna share.
One of the issues that comes up with that, and I'm just mentioning it just because I've had it come up already, is that KDOT's actually responsible to
Okay.
the cutoff until it gets to Cattle Trail and whatever is it 19th?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that is 19th, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is
19th.
19th, yeah.
That's city's responsibility, but we had a car, make a complaint, because of the drop off, the state was not, from the concrete cutoff,
Yeah, it does
there was a
come.
hole being developed,
Mhm.
and, yeah,
Yeah.
and, they weren't maintaining it, so it's already come up there, so the signage, but we can work with it, and Kent will contact either KDOT or we'll have it on the other way, so.
Yeah, just suggestion.
That's a good point. Okay. Dennis, anything to report?
No?
Curtis?
I have nothing.
Wally?
No.
Nothing specific from me, except thanks, Kent, Zach, for all the work you guys have done on this. I know it's been a huge administrative load. I mean, it's a lot for us to think through on this side, and you guys are doing all the legwork, so thank you very much for what you're doing. I appreciate it.
I second that.
Yeah.
It's Zach and an awful lot of it, so.
Lots of heavy lifting.
Okay, staff reports, Kent,
I don't have anything else.
Zach? Okay, moving on to minutes. Everybody have a chance to look at the last month's minutes. We know Grady did.
Yeah.
He's on top. Yeah. Any additions, subtractions, corrections? Can I get a motion?
Can I make a motion to approve the minutes for October 21st, 2025? Even though I wasn't
Sure.
here.
Yeah, absolutely.
All you're doing is
Okay.
motion
we
to
just-
put the
we're just-
question.
We're just
Okay,
saying,
okay.
yeah. I'll second that. Okay, so moved by Grady, seconded by Matt to approve the minutes. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, nay? All right, Grady, you got one more job. That's a jerk.
Oh, I make a motion to adjourn the planning commission meeting today at 6:54.
All right, moved by Grady, seconded by Curtis. All in favor, aye?
All right.
Opposed, nay? Thank you, guys.